So welcome back to The Deep Dive. We are taking you on a deeply sensory journey into the cultural heartbeat of Morocco, specifically right now in the year 2026.
Yes, and we've pulled together an amazing stack of sources for you today. We're looking at travel itineraries, cultural guides, and some highly influential contemporary art magazines like Yaz Magazine, Roaming Camels, Maratra, and Culture Bloody.
But the way we are going to navigate through all this material is actually entirely thanks to you, our listener.
That's right.
You sent us a brilliant framework for today's deep dive. You told us you wanted to understand the rhythm of this culture through a very specific sequence. You said, greeting, story, and goodbye.
Which is such a great way to frame it.
It really is. And you explicitly asked for zero politics, just the pure lived experience of moving through the society.
Which is an incredibly intuitive way to look at Morocco, honestly. Because you cannot truly grasp this ecosystem by just, looking at a map or reading a Wikipedia summary.
Right.
You have to understand the actual mechanics of how the society welcomes you, how it narrates its own existence throughout the year, and finally, how it washes the day away.
So let's jump right into that first crucial step, which is the greeting. In Moroccan culture, hospitality isn't just like a nice thing you do if you have time. It is a rigid foundational institution.
Oh, absolutely.
And the ultimate symbol of that greeting is a traditional Moroccan mint tea. Our source, Roaming Camels, goes incredibly deep into the sheer mechanics of this ritual. And it's not just boiling water and tossing a bag in a mug.
Far from it. The tea ceremony is meticulously engineered. It starts with a designated tea master, usually called the malama, who uses a specialized metal teapot called a barad.
Okay.
And the ingredients have to be super precise. You start with that Chinese gunpowder green tea we mentioned.
Which is what exactly?
So they're these tea leaves rolled into tiny, tight pellets. They did that to preserve freshness during those long trade voyages centuries ago.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then you add massive handfuls of fresh spearmint. Though, depending on the region or the season, they might actually swap that for verbena or wormwood.
Interesting.
And finally, you need a tremendous amount of sugar. Traditionally, this is broken off from these large, dense, molded sugar cones.
I always knew Moroccan tea was sweet, but the part that really caught my attention in the sources was the actual pour.
The height of it.
Yes. The malem lifts the barad and pours the boiling tea into these small decorated glasses from a height of 12 to 18 inches above the tray.
Which is pretty high when you're dealing with boiling water.
Right. And I always assumed that was purely theatrical. Like a bartender flipping bottles, it looks great, it's a show of confidence. But there is actual physics at play here, isn't there?
There really is, and it fundamentally changes the chemistry of the drink. That high pour physically aerates the hot liquid as it falls through the air.
Okay, so it's mixing with the oxygen.
Exactly. First, it cools the tea just enough so that it doesn't shatter the glass or burn the guest's mouth. But more importantly, the aeration binds the volatile aromatic compounds of the mint and the bitter tannins of the green tea together.
And that creates the foam, right?
Yes, it creates this thick, frothy foam on the surface of the glass.
The crown.
Precisely. The crown acts as a thermal blanket. It keeps the liquid underneath piping hot while the foam itself is cool on your lips. And producing a thick, stable crown requires immense practice. It is the ultimate visual proof of the host's skill, and more importantly, their respect for you as a guest.
Which brings us back to that historical paradox we started with. According to the sources, this gunpowder tea only really saturated the Moroccan market because of the Crimean War in the 19th century.
Right. European trade routes were disrupted.
Exactly. So British merchants just aggressively unloaded their Chinese tea stockpiles in Moroccan ports because they couldn't go anywhere else. So my question to you is, how on earth did a foreign commodity, basically dumped at a port out of economic convenience, become so sacred?
Well, it's the ultimate example of Morocco's genius for synthesis. They didn't just, adopt the tea, they conquered it.
How so?
They took this foreign element of global trade and wove it flawlessly into their pre-existing Islamic tenets of hospitality, and they combined it with their native agricultural abundance, the fresh mint and herbs. They built an entire social contract around it.
You mean the rule of three, right? Yeah.
Yes. So when you are hosted, you are typically served 3 consecutive rounds of tea from the exact same pot. And the flavor profile naturally changes as the tea steeps longer.
Right.
There's a famous proverb that says, the first glass is as gentle as life, the second is as strong as love, and the third is as bitter as death.
That's incredibly poetic.
It is. Though in modern context, many interpret it simply as wishing you life, love, and peace. But the crucial takeaway for you if you're visiting is that refusing a glass is a massive social faux pas.
Like, deeply offensive.
Yes, because it's not just declining a beverage, it is perceived as rejecting the relationship and the shared space entirely.
Okay, so you've arrived, you've been greeted with the crown of foam, you've accepted the social contract. Now, we transition to the second part of our framework. You sit down for the story.
The narrative of the culture.
Exactly. And the story of Morocco is incredibly dynamic. It is narrated through a year-long calendar of festivals that dictate the rhythm of the entire country. But trying to track that rhythm seems like a logistical nightmare based on these sources.
It is a massive challenge for timekeeping because Moroccan culture essentially operates on 3 overlapping calendars simultaneously.
The sources outline this perfectly, and I really want to try to visualize it for you listening. Imagine 3 massive interlocking gears inside a clock, but they are all rotating at totally different speeds.
That's a great analogy.
Your first gear is the religious calendar. It's lunar, meaning it's only about 354 days long. Because of that, major events like Ramadan or Eid shift backward by about 11 days every single Gregorian year.
Right.
Your second gear is the agricultural calendar, which is entirely dictated by local harvest times. So when the crops are ready, the festival happens. And your third gear is the cultural calendar, which is mostly locked into fixed dates, usually during the summer tourist season.
Because those gears are spinning at different rates, every single year gives you a completely unique cultural alignment.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You might have a year where a solemn religious fasting month overlaps exactly with the frantic, exhausting energy of an agricultural harvest. And then, a decade later, that same religious month might happen in the dead of winter when nothing is growing.
Let's look at what 2026 specifically looks like on those gears. In January, the country celebrates Yenayer. This is the Amazi or Berber New Year. And just to give you a sense of the historical depth here, in 2026, they're ringing in the year 2976.
Which really grounds you in just how ancient the indigenous roots of the region are. It predates so much of what we consider ancient history.
Definitely. Then you move into the agricultural gear. February gives you the Almond Blossom Festival in Tafrout, where the entire landscape turns into this incredible sea of pink and white petals.
It's visually stunning.
But the one that really stopped me in my tracks is the massive Rose Festival in Kilat Magona in May. They are harvesting thousands of tons of damask roses. And it's not just for a pretty parade, right? This is a massive economic engine for the region.
Absolutely. I mean, the Valley of the Roses practically sustains its entire microeconomy through this single harvest. The sheer volume of petals is staggering.
And they turn that into oil.
Yes, they process them down into precious rose oil and rose water, which are then exported globally for high-end cosmetics and perfumes. The festival itself is an explosion of sensory joy. You know, towns showering floats and petals, but underneath that celebration is the very real relief of economic survival.
A good harvest means the community thrives for another year.
Exactly.
And as the year moves into June, the sensory focus kind of shifts from smell to sound. You have the Gnawa World Music Festival in Essaouira, featuring UNESCO-listed trance music that literally shakes your chest, and it goes until dawn.
The energy there is just unbelievable.
And simultaneously, you have Malazine in the capital, Rabat, which is this behemoth global pop festival drawing millions of attendees. But I do want to push back on something here, specifically regarding the Imotil Marriage Festival in September.
Ah, yes, I thought you might bring that one up.
The sources, particularly the cultural guides, note that global tourism has heavily romanticized this event as a literal marriage market, where people just come down from the mountains to pick a spouse.
Right, like a dating show.
Exactly. Honestly, looking at how heavily marketed it is to outsiders, it feels a bit exploitative. Are we sure these events aren't just highly choreographed shows put on to sell, like, authentic flavor to tourists?
Well, I will completely concede that the tourism industry has completely commodified the romantic angle. You see it on literally every travel brochure. However, if you look past the cameras and dive into the anthropological history of indigenous groups like the Hididu, the narrative shifts completely.
Okay, take me into that history. What's actually going on?
Historically, these nomadic and semi-nomadic communities lived in extreme isolation in the high Atlas Mountains. As the brutal winter approached, travel would become completely impossible.
So they were snowed in.
Right. So these annual musams, or large tribal gatherings, were quite literally a matter of survival. It was their one window to trade livestock for winter supplies, settle disputes, renew tribal alliances, and yes, finalize engagements to ensure the continuation of their bloodlines.
So the marriage aspect was real, but it was tied to the intense logistics of survival, not just a dating game.
Exactly. And even today, despite all the tourists with their cameras, it remains a vital mechanism for preserving intangible heritage.
How so?
This is where you see the Ahidis dancing, which is this incredibly hypnotic, circular, collective dance where men and women stand shoulder to shoulder, chanting poetry.
Oh, wow.
It is a physical reinforcement of community bonds. The heavy silver jewelry they wear isn't a costume for the tourists, it's a very specific visual language of tribal affiliation.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, so the tourists might be standing on the perimeter taking photos, but the core ritual is still fiercely protected and performed for the community itself.
That distinction really changes how you view it. The story of Morocco is deeply rooted in that ancestral survival. But what I find so fascinating is that this story isn't just a museum exhibit.
Not at all.
It is actively being written right now, in real time, which brings us to the exploding contemporary art scene in Marrakech in 2026.
And this is where we see that exact same genius for synthesis that we talked about with the mint tea, but applied to the cutting-edge global art world. In February of 2026, Marrakech hosted the 154 Contemporary African Art Fair at the iconic La Mamounia Hotel.
Just to clarify the name for you listening, 154 represents the 54 countries that make up the African continent. So it's an incredibly ambitious Pan-African scope.
A massive scope, but Yes Magazine emphasizes that the tone in 2026 was surprisingly intimate.
Really?
Yeah. They deliberately pivoted away from the pure commercial spectacle that you usually see at global art fairs, the flashy, multi-million-dollar bidding wars.
The usual art market hype.
Right. Instead, the curation focused heavily on deep material research and complex narratives of memory and migration.
The local artists they highlighted are doing some mind-bending work. You have Mehdi George Zalalu, who creates these dense, intricate sculptural pieces that deal with archives and memory.
This work is incredible.
And Nassim Azarzar, who works in abstraction, he takes these traditional Islamic geometric patterns and just blasts them into the modern era using bold kinetic light and color. And what blew me away is that this energy isn't just trapped inside a convention center. The whole city of Marrakech becomes this open-air extension of the fair.
It completely takes over the urban ecosystem. You have massive anchor institutions like Makal, the Museum of African Contemporary Art El Madden, and the Yves Saint Laurent Museum putting on parallel exhibitions that deepen the dialogue.
But I have to stop you there, because when you describe a whole city transforming around a massive influx of international capital and global art elites, my brain immediately goes to gentrification.
That's a very valid concern.
We see this all over the world. A historic city gets trendy, global money pours in, and suddenly the local artists are priced out of their own neighborhoods, and the art itself loses its edge to cater to wealthy Western collectors. Isn't Marrakech at serious risk of losing its local voice?
That is the standard blueprint for gentrification, yes. And there is always tension when global capital meets local heritage. But a crucial insight from the sources is that Marrakech is actively resisting that narrative.
How?
It is no longer just a passive host city providing a pretty exotic backdrop for European buyers to come and spend money.
So instead of just setting the stage, Marrakech is actually acting as the curator.
Precisely. Marrakech has established itself as an active strategic cultural agent. It is dictating the terms of the conversation.
Well, that's powerful.
Very. The artists and curators operating out of Morocco are proving that African and diasporic voices are central contributors to global contemporary thought. They aren't peripheral curiosities brought in for flavor. Marrakech isn't stripping away its tradition to fit the slick, sanitized global art market. It is forcing the global art market to slow down and adapt to its complex rhythm. Tradition and memory are the exact tools they are using for contemporary experimentation.
Okay, so we've been welcomed into this world with the aerated pour of gunpowder tea. We've lived the story through the massive overlapping years of agricultural harvests, the trance music of the coast, and the defiant contemporary galleries of Marrakech.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have taken in a staggering amount of sensory input. But as your framework dictates, every journey must eventually come to an end. It's time for the goodbye.
And there is no more profound way to say goodbye to the day, to physically cleanse the body and psychologically reset the mind than the traditional Moroccan hama.
The hama. Even reading about it in Culture Bloody made my shoulders drop an inch. The roots of this bathhouse practice go all the way back to the ancient Roman baths, which eventually merged with Islamic culture's emphasis on cleanliness before prayer.
It's a really deep historical blend.
But the physical process itself is incredibly rigorous.
It is a profound, multi-step physical transition. You don't just, jump in the water and wash off. First, you spend time in the intensely hot steam room to open your pores and loosen the muscles.
Okay.
Then your body is coated in traditional black soap, which is this dark gelatinous paste made from macerated olives and olive oil that deeply softens the skin.
And then comes the scrub.
Yes, the rigorous exfoliation using a specialized, highly textured glove called a kessa.
I read about this. It sounds intense.
The amount of dead skin removed is usually quite shocking to first-timers. It is a deeply visceral mechanism of renewal. And finally, you are coated in a purifying mask of gasol clay, which is mined directly from the Atlas Mountains to draw out any remaining impurities.
When I first read about this, my mind immediately went to a Western digital detox or like a luxury spa day. But that analogy completely falls apart when you look at the mechanics of it.
Completely.
When we go to a spa in the West, the goal is isolation. You pay for a private room, cucumber slices over your eyes, absolute silence, and zero human contact. The hammam is the exact opposite. It is profoundly social and deeply communal.
But the contrast is vital. Now, to be fair, in 2026, you can absolutely go to a modern tourist spa in a luxury riad, pay 500 dirhams, and get that private, aromatherapy-infused, isolated experience.
Right, if you want that.
But the authentic local neighborhood hammam costs about 10 to 30 dirhams, and it is a vibrant, echoing hub of community life. They were strictly segregated by gender, usually by having separate facilities or alternating times a day, but inside those walls, the space is entirely shared.
And this brings up a huge question for me. According to the sources, modern private showers with hot water are available in almost every single home in urban Morocco today.
Yes, they are.
So why on earth do people pack up their buckets, their black soap, and their kessa gloves and walk down the street to bathe in public?
Because the hammam is about so much more than removing dirt from your body. Think of it like a jury duty waiting room or a military boot camp, but for relaxation.
Huh. That's quite the image.
Right. It is a massive social equalizer. When you step into that thick steam, stripped of your tailored clothes, your expensive watch, your outward markers of wealth or class, everyone is engaged in the exact same raw, vulnerable human process.
Everyone is on the same level.
Exactly. You might have a wealthy corporate executive sitting on the heated marble right next to a local street vendor asking each other to scrub their backs. It forces a shared collective identity.
It strips away the ego completely. And the sources point out it's also a required physical transition state for major life events, right?
Yes. You go to the hammam before your wedding, before major religious holidays, or even just at the end of a grueling week. It is a designated communal space where you literally and metaphorically wash away the past.